This was a performance for the ages, and KD, most of his career, there was a year or so when Russell Westbrook was injured and KD had to play in the playoffs without him. But for the most part, his big games, he's always had another MVP on the floor. And so he always had other guys, Steph, Russ, Clay, to draw attention from the defense, so that made it a little easier for him. Last night, it was all on him against one of the best defenses in the league, and he simply shattered them. So, tremendous performance. I learned a lot about him. I learned that he can go out and just destroy in that situation. So, good for Durant. The rebounds was huge. The assists were huge. I've also been saying he needs to shoot more threes. He's a great three-point shooter, but he only takes 5 a game. A couple years he's taken 6. He took 9 last night. His mid-range is so good that he goes there a lot, but he could score even more if he takes a few more threes. Now, finally, playing all 48 minutes, when we talk about best player in the world, if indeed Father Time has grabbed LeBron on the shoulder and tapped him, then the 48 minutes he played separates him from the other guys in the conversation. Kawhi's not going 48. Joel Embiid's not going 48. So you got to look at that as well. So we can just throw all types of superlatives at Kevin Durant. But Giannis, I learned more about Giannis, and that drew my emotion more, to use your term, Wilds. Where to start? Number one, let's start at the defense. All right, the fact that he did not say at some point in the fourth quarter, give me Durant. I mean, I don't get it. Look, you're the defensive player of the year last year. Your first team all defense this year again. And Durant's the same position. I mean, that even makes it worse. It's not like he's a 7 foot. I mean, you're 7 feet too, so it don't even matter. He's the same position as you. It's a natural for you to guard him at the start of the game. And I'm not saying I want you on him at the start of the game. But in the fourth quarter, you got to go to him. PJ wasn't even guarding him. It was Chris Middleton for the most part on most of Durant's shots. And he's never made all defense. Look, we know LeBron's history. He'll guard a point guard. I've seen him guard Derrick Rose and other point guards down the stretch. Kawhi would have said, for all his flaws, I'll give him to me. All right? He's forced into guard him. He'll guard him. All right? Michael Jordan would take it. I talked to a former teammate of Larry Bird this morning, and he said, look, Larry Bird couldn't guard anybody. But if somebody was lighting us up like that, he'd go in the huddle and be like, what is going on? Give him to me. And he would guard him.
Nice.
And some of this is on Mike Budenholzer. What are you thinking? Why aren't you putting your best defender on Durant? His length alone would make things more difficult on Durant. So that was bothersome. Do I dare go to Giannis in the post when Harden just disrespects him and says, I got him? And when that play started, I even said, I actually like this matchup for the Nets because Harden is an underrated post defender. But still, Giannis has to abuse him. I don't really love the fadeaway. It's not terrible when you got a guy half a foot shorter, but still, you got to abuse him in that moment. So it was a bad look for Giannis. He's saying, I'll guard him in game 6. Fine, but the time was last night, the last 10 minutes of the game, and Giannis didn't step up to the challenge.
That's right.
I'm shocked because I don't know why you're so surprised. We had this same conversation last year in the bubble. We were talking about him playing more than 32 minutes. Bud just kept capping him off that. We're not playing more than 32, 34 minutes, something around there. And Nick, you just kept saying, Bud needs to play him more. Every superstar plays more down the stretch. Why wouldn't he play him more? And we started this whole conversation around international players versus American players. Look, I'm with you on that. I'm that type of player. The game's on the line. I'm shooting every single time. I'm asking Jay Cutler to throw it to me every single play. We want that. However, we know who we're dealing with. We had this debate last year. Giannis is who he is. Giannis is going to respect the coach. Giannis is going to listen to him. So, yeah, I understand Bud could have probably stood up and said more. But it is lightweight disrespectful for me to be wasting so much time talking about Giannis when we just witnessed something amazing. Everyone in the world knew the only way the Nets were going to win was through this dude right here, KD. So we're talking about Giannis when we need to be talking more about Kevin Durant. He was sensational. He was phenomenal. Like what this dude did, knowing that everyone knew that they had to stop him and still deliver, ascended him from superstar to Mount Rushmore superstar. When you talk about wings, Nick, sensational.
So I want to get to Giannis in just Durant in just a moment, because I got a question to ask Broussard about it. On the Bucks side of things, the Bucks did everything they could to lose that game in the final 18 minutes. Listen, James Harden, they let him off the hook defensively. You mentioned that he's a stout post defender. Get him out on the perimeter and make him move. Right. He couldn't move. He's on one leg. He was on one leg, and they didn't punish him for it. We can show you the numbers after the Bucks had the 17-point lead midway through the third quarter when Durant damn near outscored the Bucks by themselves, and yet they sent 0 double teams at him. They didn't double him once the entire game. When they did send a second man via help, not a true double, but help, you know how many jump shots Durant took? 0. He passed out of it. Now, Jeff Green was making shots, good for him. If Jeff Green is going to go for 37 instead of 27, tip your cap. If Joe Harris is going to make a shot for the first time since Game 2, tip your cap. But don't let this man who is shooting flames out of his eyeballs and his ears continue to beat you when everyone in the stadium knows he's beat. Look at this. Look at this. This is the final 19 minutes. Make an adjustment, bud. Do something. He just stands there with his hands on his head like, oh, couldn't see this coming. Well, I could. I didn't even have that good of seats last night, and I could see it coming. So that's just a bad job by the Bucks as a whole. But on Durant, Broussard, listen, I did a deep dive into this, into my own kind of archives yesterday, because you know, when we've talked about this, I'm working on this NBA project of the 50 best players the last 50 years. So I have for the top 12 guys, which Durant, as of last night, was 12th, could go higher. I have their biggest playoff games, best playoff moments. And I'm looking through Kobe's. And Kobe had that 50-point magnificent overtime loss to Phoenix when he was outgunned, similar to how Durant is outgunned. That was Game 6 and then the kind of controversial Game 7. I think that was probably Kobe's best playoff game. Bird had an amazing Game 7 against the Knicks, and almost a perfect Game 7 against the Pistons in '87 when they were the defending champs, 37-9-9. I don't think Kobe or Bird, who are probably 3 and 4 all time for wings, LeBron, Jordan, LeBron, don't have to argue that, Kobe, Bird, ever did what Durant did last night. I think it is not only the best playoff game of Durant's career, it's one of the best playoff games we've ever seen. And when Brandon says the Mount Rushmore of wings, we don't have to rank them, but the 4 guys on it are LeBron, Michael, Kobe, and Larry. I think Durant is going to continue to make the case that he's going to elbow Larry Bird off that. That he is going to, because we are now seeing, or we got a glimpse of this. He has the ability, when you know it's all him, to still just rip your heart out. And some of our favorite moments from our favorite players are guys, Jordan 63, totally outmatched, doesn't really have a shot to win the series. That's not this situation here, but just kills you. LeBron in 2015 against the Warriors, totally outmatched, but just does everything he can to make it close. We've never gotten to see that with Durant because we've never had to. He had to do it last night, Broussard, and he played a perfect basketball game. And the 48 minutes, Wilds, to me, is more impressive than the 49 points. The 48 minutes is legendary, absolutely legendary.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.